You're sitting somewhere, minding your own business, and a feeling creeps over you. Someone is looking at me. You turn around, and sometimes, unsettlingly, you're right, someone was. Other times there's no one there at all, and you feel a little foolish. But the feeling itself is real and powerful, and almost everyone has had it. The sense of being watched, of eyes on the back of your neck. So is it a sixth sense? A mysterious power? No. It's something far more interesting. A piece of survival machinery built into your brain, and it's working exactly as designed. Let's clear up the mystery first. You cannot actually feel a gaze on the back of your head. There's no beam coming from someone's eyes, no energy you're detecting. When you correctly sense you're being watched and turn to find someone looking, what's really happening is that your brain picked up a cue you weren't consciously aware of. A flicker of movement in the corner of your eye, a shadow, the subtle shift of a figure orienting toward you, a change in the sounds around you. Your conscious mind didn't notice it, but a deeper, faster part of your brain did, and translated it into a feeling. Someone's watching. Because here's the thing. Your brain has a dedicated system for detecting gaze. Detecting where other eyes are pointed, and especially whether they're pointed at you, is so important that evolution built specialized machinery for it. There are regions of the brain that respond strongly and selectively to faces, to eyes, and to the direction of someone's gaze. You can pick out whether a person is looking directly at you versus slightly to the side with astonishing speed and accuracy, faster than you can consciously think. This isn't a quirk. It's one of the most finely tuned social skills you own. Why would the brain invest so heavily in this? Because throughout evolution, a gaze locked onto you was critically important information. It could mean a predator had spotted you and you were about to become prey. It could mean a rival was sizing you up for a fight. It could mean a potential mate was interested or that a member of your group needed your attention. In every one of these cases, knowing you were being looked at, fast, could be the difference between life and death, between reacting in time and reacting too late. So the brain became exquisitely, almost paranoidly, sensitive to it. And crucially, this system is tuned to err on the side of caution. Think about the math of it. If you assume you're being watched and you're wrong, you've lost almost nothing, a moment of mild embarrassment as you glance around at no one. But if you assume you're not being watched and you're wrong, and that gaze belonged to a predator or an enemy, the cost could be everything. So the brain follows a simple, brutal rule. When in doubt, assume eyes. Better 100 false alarms than one fatal miss. That bias toward over-detection is exactly why you so often feel watched when no one's there. This is the same logic behind a whole family of mental shortcuts. The brain would rather generate false positives than risk a deadly false negative. It's why you flinch at a stick that might be a snake, why a sudden sound in the dark makes your heart race before you've identified it. The feeling of being watched belongs to this same protective family. Your gaze detection system is firing on incomplete information, throwing up a warning just in case, because the just in case has kept your ancestors alive for a very long time. There's also a fascinating finding about how the brain handles uncertainty in gaze. When people can't quite tell whether someone is looking at them, the brain tends to default to assuming yes, they are. We're biased toward believing we're the target of attention. Again, this makes survival sense. It's safer to assume the gaze is on you and be ready than to assume it isn't and be caught off guard. So even ambiguous cues get resolved in the direction of someone's watching me. Your brain rounds up. Now, this same machinery, dialed too high, is also behind that prickling sense of being watched in an empty room, the feeling of presence when you're home alone. There's a part of the brain constantly scanning for signs of other minds, other agents, and when it's on high alert, it can fire on almost nothing. A creak, a shift in shadow, a half-sensed something. In a calm state, you ignore these. When you're anxious, or it's dark, or you've just watched something frightening, The system's sensitivity cranks up, and suddenly, the ordinary creaks of a house feel like eyes and presences. Your threat detector is just running hot. This explains the difference between people, too, and between moods. When you're relaxed and safe, the watched feeling rarely comes. When you're stressed, vigilant, or already on edge, it comes constantly, because your whole threat detection system is amplified. The world didn't change, your sensitivity did. The same room that feels perfectly fine on a bright, calm morning can feel full of unseen eyes late at night when you're tired and anxious, not because anything is there, but because the dial is turned up. This gaze machinery is so deeply wired that it changes how we behave, not just how we feel. In study after study, people act more honestly when they simply feel watched, even by fake eyes. Put a picture of a pair of eyes above an honesty box, and people pay up more often. Print eyes on a sign, and littering drops. No real person is there, just the suggestion of a gaze, and our ancient wiring responds anyway, straightening us up, making us behave as if the group were watching. That's how seriously the brain takes the possibility of eyes. The mere hint of being seen reaches all the way down into our conduct. So what do you do with all this? Mostly, just understanding it brings relief. The next time that creeping sense of being watched comes over you in an empty space, you can recognize it for what it is: an ancient alarm firing on incomplete information, doing its job a little too eagerly. It doesn't mean there's a ghost. It doesn't mean you have a sixth sense. It means you have a brilliant, slightly trigger-happy survival system that would always rather warn you for nothing than stay silent when it matters. And when the feeling turns out to be right, when you turn and someone really is looking, that's worth appreciating too. It means your unconscious mind caught a real cue your conscious mind missed, processed it, and pushed it up into awareness as a feeling, fast enough to be useful. That's not magic. It's something better. It's the quiet, constant, expert work your brain does beneath your awareness, watching the watchers, tracking the social world, keeping you safe in ways you never even notice. So the next time the hairs on your neck stand up, and you're sure someone's eyes are on you, don't dismiss it as silly, and don't mistake it for the supernatural. It's your gaze detection system, one of the oldest and most refined tools you have, choosing, as it always does, to err on the side of you're being watched. Better to feel those phantom eyes 1,000 times for nothing than to miss, even once, the eyes that were really there.